Hi friends, welcome back. This is Anne, author of hiddenfarmlife.com, and today I have some sweet treats to share with you. If you have office parties still to go to or gatherings to host, no worries. I've got you covered with 4 new recipes today to share. Some may be familiar and others you may never have tried before, but they're all good, all easy, and on your table in no time. So stay tuned. The first recipe we're going to do today is called Christmas crack. A lot of recipes use saltines, but we are going to use graham crackers. I find my family likes graham crackers better. The saltines add a nice, sweet, salty version, but we like the graham crackers. So we're going to use graham crackers, chocolate chips, butter, brown sugar, and then for a topping, we're going to use some sprinkles. So let's get started. The first thing you're going to want to do is put your oven, preheat it to 300. The next thing we're going to do is I have 2 sticks of butter in a saucepan on a low heat. We're going to melt those, and once they are melted, we're going to add a cup of brown sugar, and this is my homemade brown sugar. And if you'd like to know how I do that, I can link that above. And then after you get your butter started to melt, remember that's on low, we are going to, let me turn you around. We are going to take a pan, a cookie sheet. This one's approximately, I think, 15 by 10, and I've lined it with parchment paper. I've done this without parchment paper. Trust me, you want the parchment paper. We're gonna line it with parchment paper, and then we're going to open our crackers, which I didn't do, and we're going to put them in a single layer on the pan. Once you have melted your brown sugar and butter together, it should look like a uniform syrup. We're going to pour this all along your crackers, and we're going to spread it out. Make sure it's evenly coating the crackers. You want to get it all out of the pot and spread it around, making sure everything is coated, because this is going to be like a candy. So you want to make sure everything has a nice even coating. I would probably be better using a spatula, an offset spatula, but I don't have one at the moment. So I am using this rubber spatula instead. Okay, and then we are going to put this into the 350-degree oven until you see some bubbles. So we'll be back. So we're gonna take it out of the oven, and I'll show you. Be very, very careful. This is super hot. See how this is bubbling? That's what you want. So we're gonna let that cool for just a minute. And I wanted to let you know that the time in the oven for this was 5 minutes. And then you can see if I can get you closer. You can see all of those bubbles. That's what I always look for. I don't necessarily go by a time, but I know a lot of you like a time. So I am going to say this was 5 minutes. So I'm gonna let this cool for a second, switch positions, and I'll show you what's next. Okay, while this is still warm, this is gonna form the base of your candy. This is still very, very hot. Remember, this is sugar and butter. While this is warm, I am going to add a half a bag of white chocolate chips and a half a bag of milk chocolate chips. This combination can be anything you like. This is just what we use, and we're just going to pop those on the top, trying to make sure, not get them all over the counter like me, and get them dispersed evenly, because the heat from the crackers and the butter and brown sugar is going to melt this. Some recipes will tell you to melt your chocolate chips in the microwave first. I don't do that. I just put them right on here. Oops, there we go. See? And I just put them on here, and I let the residual heat from the pan and the crackers bring them up to a soft, and if I find that they're not melting as quickly as I'd like, I will just pop them back in the oven, but I never take my eyes off of them, because I really want to make sure that nothing burns and it doesn't become one amalgamous clump of stuff. So let's have these melt, and then we're going to spread them out. So once the chocolate chips are melty, you can see I'm just going to go back and forth. The main goal of this is to make sure all of the crackers are covered in the chocolate, which is why you want to spread them out evenly to begin with. And I'm just going to, I mean, I really don't care what this looks like. It tastes great. if you're into making patterns and, you know, color schemes and that kind of thing, this probably, my method probably won't be good for you. But I'm just more concerned about getting everything coated and evenly moved around the pan. And then once that's done, I feel like everything is pretty well coated and evenly moved around. I'm going to add some sprinkles, and these are just, you know, everyday rainbow sprinkles. You can add a Christmas theme. I've seen people use like the little silver and gold little mini balls. You can use the ones that look like little grains of rice, like the chocolate and the vanilla ones, the Christmas colors. But I think I like this one, and I think we are done. So now all I'm going to do is let this sit, because it's pretty cold outside. I'm just going to let this sit at room temperature and let it all solidify. You can put this in the freezer and help it to harden up quickly if you're in a time crunch, which, you know, I'm saying this is for last minute stuff. So if you're making this the day of, I would stick it in the freezer just to have it harden up faster. So we're gonna let this harden, and here is that candy crack. It is all solidified now. And what you want to do is this is a good reason to use the parchment paper. You can just peel it off and then you just crack it. And this, you can make, you know, the pieces as big or as small as you want. I like to make them in these odd, funky shapes because it makes them interesting. I'm going to be packaging these up in a cute little container for my husband's office mates, and I will combine these with the other recipes that we're going to do today. So next up, good old-fashioned chocolate chip cookies. So in my mixer bowl, I am going to put 2 sticks of softened butter. Mine was in the freezer, so I had to soften it in the microwave for a little bit. You don't want it melted, you just want it soft because you want it to be light and fluffy. So that's in our bowl. And to this, we are going to add a cup of brown sugar, 3/4 of a cup of white sugar. These are not low calorie, and 2 eggs. So I'm going to get all that in here and get it whipped up. Okay, so here's everything. The eggs, the brown sugar, the regular cane sugar, butter, and vanilla is underneath. So I'm gonna now put this in my stand mixer and put the regular mixing blade on here. And I'm gonna get this going until it makes a nice creamy consistency. This is what I mean by a nice creamy consistency. You can see how the butter and eggs and the 2 sugars have all combined and made like a cream. So now I'm going to put this back on the mixer, the stand rather, and I'm going to replace the paddle. And while this is on, I'm going to add my mixture of flour. I add the chocolate chips because if you coat your chocolate chips in flour, it helps them to not sink in anything that you're baking. So these will kind of float in the cookies. So this is flour, baking soda, salt, and a package of instant vanilla pudding. So while this is going, I'm going to go ahead and add this gradually after each addition, making sure that everything's well combined, and then adding more until it's done. So from here, you can absolutely use your cookie dough right away. You can put it on a sheet pan and use either a cookie scoop or a teaspoon. I just drop them, they're free form. I like to refrigerate mine for at least a half an hour, 45 minutes to let that pudding set up, and then I bake them in a 350 oven. So I'm gonna go ahead and put these in the fridge for about a half an hour. So our cookie dough has been in the fridge for half an hour, and you can see it's pretty firm, which is how I like it. And all I'm going to do, I have a regular kitchen spoon here, and I'm just gonna free form them on this Silpat. And just like that, I'm gonna go ahead and finish putting all of these on the cookie sheet, and I am going to put these in a 350 degree oven for about, All the ovens are different, so you know your oven. I like to slightly underbake these and then get them out and let the carryover heat from the pan finish cooking them. It makes for a chewier cookie, which my family likes. If you like a crispy, crunchy cookie, leave them in. I guess the rule of thumb is about 8 minutes, but watch them. You don't want them to get brown, just golden. So I just took these out of the oven. They're super hot, but I wanted to show you what I meant by light golden brown. See if I can zoom you in a little bit. You can see it's just starting to brown on these upper crusts. That's what we want. And I did use a Silpat here. These are restaurant supply pans and Silpats. I think I might have a link for them on Amazon. If I do, I will share that below. But I'm gonna let these sit on the pan for a few minutes before I put them on a cookie sheet, you know, like a cooling rack to completely cool. Next up is good old-fashioned molasses cookies. These are so incredibly easy to pull together and bake, and they're ready in no time, and they're nice and soft and chewy. They're the taste is similar to a ginger snap. They're darker than a ginger snap. They're softer in the middle, and they're chewy. They're not a crumble cookie. I think if you probably bake them a little bit longer, you could get them to be a little bit crisper, you know, dry them out, but we like them chewy. So I'll show you what's up. So in my bowl, I have an egg, dark blackstrap molasses, brown sugar, which again, I'm using my homemade brown sugar, and a little bit of this apple cider vinegar. This is the vinegar that I always use if I'm, you know, baking or making a salad dressing or something. That's what I use. So I'm just gonna put this on my mixer, and I'm going to use the paddle again. And I'm going to mix this up, and then I will add in my dry ingredients. Okay, this is all mixed up and combined. To that, I am going to add my flour, ground ginger, salt. I use pink Himalayan salt, and baking soda. And I'm just gonna whisk this a little bit and aerate it and make sure this is all well combined before I start adding it in increments to my mixing bowl while the mixer is on. Once your cookie dough is combined, this is what it should look like. It's kind of soft, but still stiff. I am going to go ahead, I am not going to refrigerate this. I'm gonna go ahead and put these right on the cookie sheet. I'm gonna do the same thing that I did with the chocolate chip. I'm just gonna take my kitchen spoon and drop them freeform onto the cookie sheets with the liners. I have all of my cookies on the cookie sheet with the liner, and you by no means have to do this, but when I make molasses cookies, I like to top them before they go into the oven with some sugar, and this is just my organic cane sugar that I'm using, and I just put a little sprinkle on each one. And I'm going to put these in a 350 oven. And again, you know your oven best. I would do, I watch them. So I will try to watch them and watch my clock and time it for you. So let me put them in, and I'll get a time for you when I pull them out. So the last recipe I have to share with you today is some people refer to this as Mexican wedding cookies. Some people call them Russian tea cakes. We have always called them walnut or pecan puffs. My family has eaten these since before I was born. My mom usually makes these at Christmas time, and she always uses walnuts. I am using pecans today. I feel like they're a little bit more decadent and a little sweeter than walnuts. So I'm just gonna start out. I've got some melted, not melted, but soft butter in here and vanilla. I'm going to go ahead and add to the butter and vanilla a half a cup of confectioner's sugar, and I just have it in my handy dandy measuring cup here. And then I'm going to just put this on my stand mixer, and I'm going to mix this around before I add in my dry ingredients. So I have creamed the half a cup of confectioner's powdered sugar and the butter, and to this alternately I'm going to add about a cup of chopped pecans, which I just hand chopped, and then in here I have my flour, and if you can see that, a half a teaspoon of I use, like I said, I use pink Himalayan salt, and I'm going to add these alternately to my bowl while the mixer is going. So I'm going to start off first with a little bit of flour. I don't know if you can see that. I'm going to start off with a little bit of flour, and then I'm going to go ahead and run this and add the pecans. Okay, so this is what the dough looks like. I don't know if you can see that. The lighting is pretty bad. And I'm just going to take these. This is, again, my trusty handy dandy soup spoon, or teaspoon I call it. And I'm just going to roll these into, that's probably a 1 or 1.5 inch ball. And I'm just going to place these on my cookie sheets that have been lined with these silicone mats and get these going. These go into a 350-degree oven. Here are the 4 cookies that we've made today, or the 4 treats, whatever you want to call these: pecan puffs, walnut balls, snowballs. They are more of a short cookie because of the butter, and they go really well with hot chocolate, coffee, and tea. The Christmas crack is a favorite among our family, especially my kids and actually my mom. The old-fashioned molasses cookies, these ended up being a little crispy on the outside and nice and chewy on the inside, just like a homemade ginger snap, which we love. And a good old standby chocolate chip cookies with the white and milk chocolate. So if you have any questions about making these recipes, I'll have all of them linked below. And if you have any comments, or if you try them, let us know in the comments below what you think. Until next time, we'll see you soon. Happy holidays. Bye-bye.